My new generation Saab 900 behind me here has quite a few lighting related issues. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First off here, you get the test brake lights message when you start up the car. If you're familiar with this platform, you'll know that. So if I hit the brake pedal to test it, you'll see I get a brake light failure message. However, if I clear that, I also get a front light failure message. So unfortunately, recently I've had a headlight go out, and I've also had my third brake light go out. I actually tried to repair the third brake light previously. I'll explain that when we get to it. The other two items I'd like to tackle, I'm not confident we're going to be able to fix, but we're going to try. The first one is our turn signals. So thanks to you guys, in a recent video, I mentioned that my turn signals, all of the bulbs work, but as you can see, it still blinks very quickly. And there's also no sound coming out. So I learned, thanks to you guys, that there is a speaker in the SID right here that apparently emits that noise. It must mean that mine is bad. So I do have a couple of spare SIDs. I also have a couple of spare climate control units because, as you can see, if I turn on the AC here, this screen does not work. Let's first start with the two error messages though, in the form of the brake lights and the front light. So when I bought this car, it had kind of an aftermarket third brake light installed. Reason being is these third brake lights are no longer available as replacements. So there was an LED strip that was added back here. It worked as a third brake light, but it triggered the warning message. So what I did off camera a few weeks back is I pulled all that out. The wiring was a mess. I had to kind of redo the wiring to the best of my ability. Now that I've done the ECU relocation, Jeff, if you haven't seen that video, check that out in the top corner. I'm going to try to actually resolder this properly. I didn't have the correct female connector for it, as you'll see here in a minute. And so I just kind of put something together that worked. It worked well for about 2 to 3 weeks, and now it works intermittently, if at all. So to get access to our third brake light, we need to first pull off this carpet area here. So there's a few Torx screws, and then we have a bunch of these little twist plastic little pop rivet things that hold the carpet in. These little twist pieces here, you just twist them 90 degrees and then you can see they kind of fall right out. They're very well designed. There are two more T25s hiding back here behind this plastic cover. So this right here is our third brake light, and you can see because I didn't have the plug for it, I had to kind of make my own plug with a couple of pins I had, and so you can see they're not perfect. Probably pull these out, just fix these crimps with actual solders just because I want to, and then see if there's maybe a better way that we can attach this. The brake light right there though is just held in by those two nuts. If you just kind of wiggle and push, you can pull the brake light right out. There we go. Let me quickly explain what I did to fix this initially and then show you what I'm thinking is going to be the best solution. Although it's not the prettiest and it's a little bit janky, I think it's going to work a lot better than what I had. So before, I had these two little pigtails that were actually from an NG93 turn signal bulb on the fender, because they were the only things small enough that would fit into these little pins right here. So when I initially pulled this apart, I could not get continuity from one side to the other, or from from these pins to either of the metal rods here. And so these were really gross and corroded. So I went ahead and kind of sanded them down very gently, got rid of all the corrosion, made sure all the bulbs had continuity and worked too, of course. I put some electrical tape around the ground because I didn't want the two, to touch. However, now what I've done is I had some of this like plastic heat shrink tube that was from a spare speaker wire when I did the speakers on my classic 900. So I pulled that off one side and was able to slide it in on this. And then the other problem was this connector was just too open. So what would happen is, and keep in mind this is now thicker, so it was more exaggerated before, but this could very easily just move side to side. And of course, same goes for the other one. So I think they were just not consistently making contact. It was kind of a hope and a prayer. But now what I've devised is, and I'm going to melt this with the soldering iron. Probably not the best thing to do, but this little zip tie I'm going to put around the top here like I had it before. and essentially it's going to push this together to hold these into place better. And slide my zip tie over here, which I might be able to make the zip tie a little bit tighter. And then I put this on one terminal and this on the other terminal. You can see now these are not moving. So from here, my next step is going to be to solder these properly to the car, and then we can plug it in and confirm that works. You know, look at that. So I just kind of melted the little bit of plastic between the zip tie and the connector, and that is on there. This is not the prettiest, but I'm going to check it for continuity. Yep, I feel pretty good about that. Slide the heat shrink over. So that looks better than what we had before. All right, now time for the other one. I'm going to do that one off camera since you guys get the idea. Not super proud of how that one looks, but it does have continuity. So you can slide that over. Our next step is going to be plugging in the brake light. I'm going to do that, and then we're going to get in the car and confirm the light actually works. All right, I did not get a brake light failure, so that must mean that it worked. I'm going to confirm on the video that you all just watched right now. I'll put the carpet back on off camera, and let's move to our next job. Our next job is dealing with the front light failure, which, as far as I can tell, is just a headlight bulb failure. Now, I've been poking around back here, trying to see if I can get access to this with, you know, the battery in the car. I probably have to pull the battery out, but instead of pulling the battery out, I think I'd rather pull the actual headlight out. There's an electrical clip on the back here, very standard for Saab. Just going to pop that off. All right, so now I actually have a good view of what we're looking at here. So looks like there's a metal tab needs to be pushed in. So the headlight bulb itself, filament looks just fine in. There's this little position marker bulb as well that also looks fine. So I'm going to test these for continuity, I guess, and just confirm if I can get them to power on myself and go from there. Well, the soldering iron has made an unfortunate return. So went ahead, did a bunch of testing on the headlight. The bulb worked. I sent more power to it than I should have, and I might have blown it. Might not have. It still seems to be fine filament-wise. Did a lot of research online, did a post, and looks like the most common culprit in these sorts of situations is the headlight relay. We're going to try this before just getting a new relay, is resoldering all of these. So from my understanding, apparently these can crack over time. I visibly inspected this. You can pause the video if you'd like and inspect it. I don't see anything cracked, even if they're small cracks. So if I try to add solder to this, it's going to make a complete mess. Whereas if I just heat it up and kind of try to remelt what's there and restore that connection in theory, if it's broken, that's kind of the way to go about it. So I'm going to very carefully try to do that. Don't know how well it's going to work, but let's give it a try. So just kind of melted that. I'm just going to give it a few seconds to dry. I'm just kind of, once I see it turn liquid, I'm just kind of pulling the soldering iron away before it gets messy. So I'm going to continue doing this for the entire thing, and I'll catch up with you guys when I'm done. All right, here it is. It actually doesn't look too bad. It's just a little bit of a messier version of what was there before. The only one I messed up is that third one. Right there, you can see the solder that was there before is now also touching the wire end that's there, but I think those two go together anyways. Let's plug it in and see what happens. Relay's plugged in up here. Everything's plugged in here. Let's see if it works. I think I've made it even worse. I'm gonna try one more test. I pulled the other headlight out and pulled the bulb out of that, which I know is good, and see if that bulb works in the right side headlight here. And there we go. It's working. So I think what my issue might be now is maybe I fixed the relay and I blew the bulb when I was testing it. So I'm gonna run up to the auto parts store and get a couple new bulbs. New bulb acquired. I'm gonna plug it back in, plug everything else back in, and see if we have 2 working lights. That appears to be 2 fully functioning headlights. Let's take a look at our warning messages here. All right, I don't see a plus there. There we go. So I guess it was that relay. All right. Crazy stuff how just resoldering it like I did fix that. Next, let's tackle the automatic climate control. So that sits right there in the car. In order to remove that, we need to remove this side panel right here. You guys can't really see what I'm doing, but it looks like the next step, as far as I can tell, the way this is held in is just by a few clips. And you're just supposed to push from behind. Okay, that was quite a pain. So then there's just one big connector on the back here. Comes out pretty easy. This new one is the same part number, same software version, so that's good. This one looks like it already was a junkyard unit. But let's plug this new one in and see what happens. Hey, check that out. Look at that. Oh, that is awesome. So before, what I was doing was basically hitting the off button to turn it on and off, and then just kind of going all the way down on the temperature till it went to low because it was during the summer. And obviously just adjusting the fan speed. So that is awesome though. Look at that. Awesome stuff. Let's put this quickly back together and we can check this off the list and just check. All these buttons seem to be working as they should. Next job is the SID. So my turn signals, hazard lights, they work, but no sound comes out. So there's actually a little speaker here in the SID that controls that. I've heard it's very difficult to resolder to fix. So what we're gonna try is a spare unit. And first off, hope that the display is in pretty good shape like this one. And of course, secondly, hope that the turn signal issue is solved. So to do that, we gotta pull out the radio. Let's start there. All right, so let's let the radio sit there, and that should just pop right out. There's one connector on the underside here. We'll undo that. And let's just set it aside for now and plug this new one in and see what happens. I'll tell you right now, this one has a lot less bulbs that are working. But let's see if... Still no sound. Let me start the car. Still getting no sound here. Still getting a very fast blinking turn signal. Let's try one more. I do have one more spare unit. The original unit looks like this. The spare unit I have looks like this. So you can see it's very slightly different. It just has different button setup here. It might very well work. I think this is out of an OG93 as opposed to a NG900. But let's plug it in. I mean, who knows? It might work and we might be good to go. Let's see. Still getting no noise. Getting the fast blinking blinkers on all of this. So I find the chances that all three of these have bad speakers to be very low. Let's do a little more research. So I've got this SID pulled apart just as an example to see what's going on here. And I'm not quite sure. Again, I'm going to need to get some expert insight here. I just find it highly unlikely that 3 of these have bad speakers, but any more insight would be appreciated. All the fuses and everything are good. And there's also not a fuse that specifically just like controls this the SID speaker. There's a fuse for the SID as a whole and the MIU as a whole. That's under one fuse. There's fuses for lights and signals that are under one fuse, but there's nothing just specifically for this, which I find obviously not surprising, but so any feedback you have on this would be greatly appreciated. But we did get some things handled in this video. I hope you all found it informative and hopefully somewhat helpful to maybe some of you with NG900s. If you did enjoy it though, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see y'all in the next one.